Well, friends, what you're looking at is an entire set of very expensive frames that are all going to waste. And this is not the first time that I've run into this issue as I move about in different construction sites. And today I'm spending time on one of my construction sites. My guys are doing all kinds of things that I'm going to tell you about. And by the way, as you look, I want you to take a look at the gypsum work that has been done here. Take a look at the wainscoting work and see what proper fundis can do when given the time and resources. But this morning, I want to talk with you about the woodworks that we do in different homes. And for some reason, so many people are obsessed with mahogany. I have never fully understood why this is the case because many of us never grew up around mahogany. In fact, I bet if I showed you mahogany tree, you probably wouldn't even be able to identify it while at least looking at it. But just take a look at that gypsum work. I'm telling you, this is one of the two guys that I call my professors of gypsum. You bring them in, you give them the resources, I'm telling you they're going to nail it. And so today I'm coming in to just inspect what's going on. There's different things going on. There's still works going on the outside, but it's mostly finishing going on. And if all things work out well, this project should be done and wrapped up in no more than 2 months. 6 weeks or 2 months, this should be all done. And so come with me. Let's take a look. And I want us to talk about the woodworks, specifically mahogany. And I'm curious to see where does this mahogany craze come from? I know it sounds expensive. Most people go for it because it's expensive. But I really wonder why a lot of returnees are all fixated about mahogany. It's mahogany everywhere. But unfortunately, in many cases, excuse me, in many cases, it doesn't always turn out as it's expected to. Because trust me, I spend many hours in different construction sites. And I would say more than 80% of them have something that looks like mahogany or something that at least the owners think is mahogany. But it always doesn't turn out well. And that is not to say mahogany doesn't work. When, by the way, this house has central AC, and that's what you're looking at. But forgetting about the central AC, which we will talk about on another day, today I just want you to take a look at the quality of gypsum work that has been done here. As I said, this is my gypsum professor doing his thing. You bring him in, you give him the resources, he will nail it down. So anyway, when it comes to woodworks, folks have an unlimited variety of options, starting with very expensive wood like mahogany, all the way to fairly affordable stuff. Many of them are actually manufactured wood. And still, regardless of the option you pick, whether you're picking natural wood or manufactured wood, excuse me, there will always be variations in terms of quality depending on how much you're willing to spend and who is doing it. So one of the most common problems I run into is returnees or people in the village buying mahogany door frames. And so by the time I get to the site, especially the sites that are started by some other fundis, I find incredibly not so good looking frames. And so like in this particular case, my client had to rip out all of these frames. And it comes at a very steep price. So if you're not here in terms of your stages of building, I hope you don't fall into the same trap. I hope you don't get this because this thing is very expensive. They will charge you a whole lot. Whether you buy real mahogany or what you think is mahogany, it is going to cost you a whole lot to buy these sort of frames, you fit them in. And so when we're coming in to do quality work, we find stuff that are very hard to work with. And so clients are often stuck with the option of just living with this and accepting it or ripping them out and having to redo the job, which is actually exactly what's going on here. We have to take out all of these frames and then have to redo them. But anyway, before I go too far, as I always say, we welcome your support as subscribers. We also welcome your support as regular viewers. I am a Kian American who is doing everything that relates to returning. And so in the process, as many of you know, if you watch my channel regularly, I am involved with a lot of construction work. I connect people with architects, builders, interior designers, landscapers, and things like that. So where we know folks, we will link you up, and where we don't know, we can always make phone calls to see what we can find. So typically my folks here work very independently. I don't even have to be there for them to work. We simply do the work, give them the resources, and they work independently. So when I'm home, I physically inspect nearly all of my projects. Again, depending on where they are, I inspect almost all of them. And so today I'm coming in to just verify that the wainscoting work is done correctly, the woodwork is going on correctly, and most importantly, the gypsum work is exactly what we anticipate. Because with this particular project, we had to make quite a few unanticipated changes because what I got in terms of the design turned out to be slightly different than what was there on the ground. And so we had to make a lot of adjustments. That's why you see, even on the wall, we had to add a few brackets here and there that were not in the original design. And unfortunately, the roof was slightly lower, but I think it turned out great. Take a look at that gypsum work and tell me what you think. And you're more than welcome to grade us on a scale of maybe 11 to 11. Where exactly do you think our folks are? I'd be happy to get your feedback. So anyway, so with mahogany, I'd say number one, if you're not in construction and you're not familiar with these kinds of things, you don't have the skills to tell the difference between real and fake mahogany. So oftentimes I walk into a site and a client tells me they have mahogany frames or mahogany doors, and what I see is clearly nothing close to mahogany. And I know they pay top dollar for what they think is mahogany. So your first problem is that you may not get the actual deal as you think it is. Then the second issue with mahogany is that even if you get mahogany, there's a variety of quality. There's top end, which is really good, and when you get good folks, they come out very nicely. But then there's also the El Cheapo version of mahogany. So sometimes I wonder, is it worth going for what you think is expensive but ends up looking terrible? Or simply going for manufactured wood that, for the most part, when they're done properly in the factory, they come out very nicely. So that's why I say, yes, love mahogany, that's fine, but it doesn't always turn out the way people think. In the majority of cases, at least in my limited experience, anywhere I find mahogany, 80% of the time, it's either they have fake mahogany, they have cheap ones that have been paid very expensively, or the workmanship ends up making it not so good looking. And so when you look at some of these trims, you look at the frames, you look at the doors, and people use mahogany even for railings, they use mahogany for skirting, they use it for, all kinds of things, including cabinetry. And some people actually go for mahogany because they worry that manufactured wood would be problematic in terms of water damage. I can assure you, like in my house, I've had manufactured wood for now 5 years plus, and they look exactly the way they did when we bought them. So don't be too scared. But if you love mahogany, I'd advise for a couple of things. Number one, I hope you're working with somebody who has integrity and is going to give you real mahogany that is worth whatever you're paying. Because there are many, many folks who pay for what they think is mahogany when it's not. And then secondly, even when you get a high quality mahogany, the workmanship makes all the difference. Many of these frames are actually real mahogany, but the workmanship is so atrocious that ultimately it just lowers the quality of your building. So again, with mahogany, make sure you get the real deal. Hopefully you're using trusted suppliers and the workmanship matches what you're paying for. But overall, if you're to ask me, would I do mahogany? I would probably not go for it. Maybe because I don't know enough about the luxury bit of it. But there are better alternatives that works just as well and tend to look really well. So my overall point is, when it comes to woodworks in the interiors, whether you're talking about furniture, you're talking about skirting, you're talking about railings, you're talking about frames, doors, arches, you have a variety of options. So don't always think mahogany is the only thing or is the best thing that has to be done in your nice home. So again, it's fine to love mahogany, but all I say, just make sure you know what you're doing and you're working with folks who have integrity. Otherwise, in many cases, it does not work out. All right, folks, I'll see you in the next. Thank you for listening. Bye.